Have you ever read that quote, 1% control the world, 4% are the puppets, 90% are asleep, 5% know what is going on and are trying to wake up the 90%, and the 1% don't want the 5% waking up the 90%? Well, here's a breakdown of it. The 1% are the architects of the system. Not cartoon villains, but people and institutions with disproportionate control over capital flows, media narratives, policy influence, and resource allocation. Their power isn't magic, it's structural. They benefit most when systems remain complex and emotionally charged rather than transparent. They don't need mass loyalty, only mass predictability. The 4%, or the puppets, are the enforcers. They're not evil, they're just incentivized. Career politicians, influencers chasing clout, corporate managers, media personalities, bureaucratic middle layers. They repeat narratives because it protects their position, it rewards compliance. The 90%, the asleep, are the distracted majority. Asleep doesn't mean stupid, it means overworked, overstimulated, emotionally exhausted, and financially stressed. When survival takes all your energy, critical thought then becomes a luxury. Endless outrage cycles, identity wars, dopamine loops, and fear-based news are distraction tools. They are governed more by emotion than by attention. And the 5%, the awake, are the pattern seers. Not all agree with each other, not all are right, but they share one thing. They notice patterns instead of events. They think systemically rather than tribally. They exist across politics, spirituality, economics, science. They threaten systems by asking why, not demanding who to blame. Why the 1% fear the 5%, but not the 90%? The 90% can be managed through division, fear, comfort, and distractions. The 5% can't because they don't respond predictably. They cross ideological boundaries, and they expose incentives instead of arguing opinions. Awareness spreads faster than control, and once people see how they're being influenced, the influence weakens. The real battlefield isn't information, it's attention. That's why serious conversations are buried, nuances mocked, and calm thinkers are labeled dangerous or crazy. But there's a hidden rule to the system. A population that understands systems is ungovernable by manipulation. So the goal isn't to keep people ignorant, it's to keep people too busy, too angry, too tired to connect the dots. The most dangerous person to any power structure isn't the rebel, and it's not the extremist. It's the person who is calm, can explain systems simply, doesn't have an enemy, and teaches others how to think instead of what to think. 1% control the systems, not with force, with predictability. 90% aren't asleep, they're exhausted, too busy surviving to zoom out. And then there's the 5%. They don't argue teams, they study patterns. They don't fight puppets, they expose their strings. That's why an increase in consciousness is dangerous. But once people see how the game works, that's when they can stop playing it. And that's what the system fears the most.